Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in 1 minute as we have many participants still joining. All right, why don't we go ahead and get started? So thank you everyone for joining us today for Empowering Young Learners with Computational Thinking and Problem Solving with Indi. So we're super excited today to present you information around computational thinking and why it's important for our youngest learners, and also share a little bit of a preview into Indi, our latest robot. So just to give you a little background during this webinar, it should be about 45 minutes. Your audio is muted, so if you talk, we're not going to be able to hear you. Please join us in the chat for any Q&A, so questions you have, and we would love to hear where you're from and why you joined us today. Ask us any questions. And then at the very end, we're going to be giving away a student kit for those who are more active in the chat and asking questions throughout. So super excited to present this to you. To give you a little background, I'm Michelle Ackley. I am the Senior Director of Product and Content here at Sphero. I am stepping in today for Jeremy, who's having technical difficulties. We've all had that in the past. Good thing we have Indi, which is screenless and super exciting. I'm also joined by Jeff, who is our Director of Firmware and Hardware at Sphero. Hi. And he's really helped create products and was really one of the visions behind Indi. So we're excited to hear from him. I'm most excited to introduce. I'm also most excited to introduce Jennifer Keene, who is one of our Sphero heroes. She's been an educator for the past 23 years and has taught pre-K all the way up to 3rd grade. And she works in classrooms that really is hands-on and engages her students. So we're excited to hear from her and how she currently introduces computational thinking to those youngest learners. One thing to think about when we are talking about our youngest learners and we're starting to think about where those kids are going when they get older is having jobs in computer science and programming. Well, a lot of times when we think about those kids, why start so young? Well, when they are young, they're innate computational thinkers. They're true problem solvers. Everything is new to them. And so they're always experiencing and seeing new things, as well as they're very versatile in all of the things that they do. So what is computational thinking? It's really broken into 4 parts, which is 1, decomposition, 2, pattern recognition, 3, abstraction, and 4, algorithmic thinking. Each of these things might sound really familiar. And at first you might think, why would a younger student need all of these? Well, they're actually experiencing these in everyday life, even though we might not call it abstraction or algorithmic thinking. Or decomposition, but they're actually experiencing this in the classroom today. So what is this? The first is decomposition, which is breaking things down into simpler, easier to manage parts. We even look at this kid right here who is building something. He starts with a single block, and then he starts to build upon it to make it much more complex, and you start to see these larger buildings being built. But it starts by really talking about the building blocks, the very simple components of each. Pattern recognition. We know this is a skill that is learned at the youngest age, including in pre-K and kindergarten, where they're starting to recognize patterns, whether it's red, blue, or simple counting. Pattern recognition is critical in both computer science and computational thinking as students get older, and is used when they become either programmers or engineers. Abstraction, which is really focusing on the details that matter. It's pulling out the small things that are going to impact the larger problem around them, or removing differences in an effort to make a solution work for multiple problems. Students start to learn this in things even such as simple as addition, or even reading like sight words, pulling out the simple things to making sure they understand the larger picture. And then finally, I'll talk today about algorithmic thinking, which is creating a series of steps or rules that anyone can follow to solve similar problems. An example of this is when we look at just Lego, right? Most of our kids have put together some sort of Lego blocks before. They're following a series of problems, a series of steps to build something larger. We're going to see today that that's something that we really look into when we created our robot, Indi, as well as Jennifer is going to share some things that she does in her classroom that is similar to this as well. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Jennifer to share what she does in the classroom with our youngest learners.
So our youngest learners are natural problem solvers, but we also know that our kids that we are teaching right now, their jobs haven't created. So really, the other piece of computational thinking is trying to also encompassing those 21st century skills, that critical thinking and creativity, all of those things go into computational thinking. Because they need these skills to be a computational thinker. And by fostering those skills with our youngest students, it makes them be successful in the job market that will exist when they're little. So children are natural problem solvers. They don't, their first initial isn't, I can't do this. But computational thinking is a little different mindset. So with our youngest students, you want to present the problems in a different context, that it's hands-on, that you're using building blocks, and we're also giving them strategies that is like a toolbox that when I see this, I can use these strategies to get me to that next step. That way, when they arrive at the end, not only have they thought through the process makes sense, but they also can tell you how they got there. Not that it was just a random series of guessing, but that whole process of being confident and being able to think through the process and knowing how they got to the answer is such a key skill that we need to teach our younger learners with the computational thinking. The other thing that will really help when you're thinking about computational thinking is giving it a real world context. That anytime you can put a problem in a real world situation, it gives them a concrete starting point. It helps them connect that background knowledge they might already know and activate that thinking process so that they use what they already know to help them take the steps they need to get to that solution. A big thing that we need to foster with our younger students that I think everyone is so apt not to is productive struggle. Just because they're little doesn't mean that struggle isn't important. The way I want you to think about it is, yes, they need to struggle and they need to have that trial and error process, but they also need that scaffolding. So the process of supporting them through as they think that step-by-step process that we showed you, and scaffold them so that they become confident that, hey, this was hard for me, but I got through it and now I know how to solve it. So the next time when they're presented with a problem, they're more independent, they're more confident. And if we can foster that in our youngest students, as they grow up through and continue to work with computational thinking, we'll see independent learners and confidence, and not so much hesitation and unsure of themselves. And the last thing is the most important thing is making things engaging and hands-on. With computational thinking, you need to make it concrete. They need to be able to see it. They need to be able to understand which direction things need to move, or what's the path from point A to point B. So anytime you can make something hands-on, they can physically move it as they think through the process, that whole process of being able to touch it and move it builds that metacognition, so that as the tasks get more difficult, they can have that same kind of picture in their mind and that background knowledge to solve bigger problems. This is the most important thing. Anytime we can get something in their hands and they can make sense of it that way, the payoff in the end is huge.
Looks like Jeremy has joined us. Everyone, welcome Jeremy.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, buddy.
What a crazy afternoon. Was getting work done just fine. And then all of a sudden, Comcast in my area has completely broken. So all the local coffee shops, restaurants that all have Wi-Fi around my house are all down as well. And so I am literally as far as I can get as quickly as I could from my home so that my cell service would work better. And now I am actually hotspotting from my cell phone. So let's keep our fingers crossed that this is all going to work. I guess I could take my sunglasses off. You see me squinting. It's because the sun's right in my face right here. So let's get started. Super excited to finally be on, and super excited to introduce this little person, robot, Indi. So whoever has control of the slides, if you can go ahead and play this video for us.
All right, here it goes.
Hey, Michelle, we don't have your audio. If you stop your sharing, restart your sharing with the share audio thing. Stand by for more technical changes.
Woo! Is it Monday?
There should be a tick box right below the share dialogue.
No, I'm not driving. Don't worry, everyone.
Yeah, Jeremy's not driving.
No, I'm parked in the end of a new development where there's nobody right now. So.
All right, let's. Give me 1 minute and. All right.
Yes, Christine, tech issues just aren't for other people. It's for everybody, including us.
This is the productive struggle that Jennifer was referencing. So.
All right. Well, there is Indi. So if you can go to the next slide for me there, Michelle. Indi is, well, first of all, I'm going to say this again. We're super excited to launch Indi. Indi is the first robot that we've developed that started with our PK2 students in mind. So our really young learners, our young undeveloped programmers, so to speak. And we started with them at the forefront of this robot and wanted to make sure that we built a robot that was as inclusive as possible so that all of our students could begin to learn some of these basic foundations around computer programming. One of the big points that we tried to meet with this is that it's a screenless experience. So right out of the box, you can power indi on, lay the color tiles on the floor, and away it goes. So there's no waiting, there's no having to pair it to a robot or to a programming device to update the firmware. It works out of the box, which is what we're super excited for. And the way it moves, the way it gets programmed, so to speak, is with the onboard color sensor and the 8 color tiles that come with Sphero Indi. And so there's very distinct colors that we use to give Indi specific commands. And we really hope that with the colors and with the screenless experience that we're going to provide hours of fun and engagement for all of your students. Next slide, please. So one thing, like I mentioned, we focused on that pre-K or pre-K2 age range. And we're really hoping to create a learning experience that supports computational thinking and allows these younger students to actually begin to develop that innate ability that they already have to think computationally, but in a way that allows them to problem solve in a kind of stress-free, fun environment using Indi and the app-free experience. Just learning the color cards, if you start out of the box with your students or out of the class kit, as we'll be calling it, students can immediately begin to start that problem solving process and learn what each color is, even without any direct instructions. So just by placing the color tiles on the floor, placing Indi on the color tiles, they're able to figure out very quickly what they all do. And then that kind of leads them to that, that more imaginative play and that learning style that our younger kids tend to lean towards. And as I mentioned again before, there's no app required. We'll talk a little bit later in this about an app we have developed just for Indi, but the core experience for Indi is screenless and with Indi and your color tiles.
So I'll tell you a little bit about how Indi came to be. So we've been working on Indi for quite a long time, and really it stretches back to us working on Rover. So Rover is a high-end programming platform. You can, this goes all the way to the top of that continuum of learning. You can put a Raspberry Pi on top of it and program in Python, connect it up to some web server. I mean, real deal robotics programming. And we started talking about how we could extend that continuum of learning down for the early learners and distill programming to its essence, something that is really digestible for the younger crowd. And even in Indi's early design, we were calling it Rover Mini. I thought about something kind of cute and small and enjoyable. And there's another product we were working on in the past called Spectrums. So Spectrums are these little rings you wear, and they have color sensor in them, and you tap on colors around you, and you can use the colors in the world around you to create music. It's a really cool idea. And when you think about what made Spectrums magic, it was bringing something truly digital out into the physical world. And that, paired with sort of the essence of programming from Rover, led us to create a design for programming that is itself just physical. And that's how we get the screenless experience, that you have a robot that can respond to instructions that are out in the real world. And just as we believe that there is learning through play, through interaction with robots, we really design through play. And so just as this is supposed to be fun for students, this is truly fun for us. I mean, our design cycle is really build and test, which for us is playing. And I have a 5-year-old. My 5-year-old loves this product. Honestly, we've spent hours just playing, decorating it with the stickers, reconfiguring the different colors to do different actions, and finding out what happens. And that discovery is sort of at the heart of what it means to be a programmer, to give instructions to a device, to mess it up, to get it right after trying again. That's kind of what led us to build this device. If you'll take us to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about how it works on the inside. So Indy at its core really functions like a processor. I mean, like a real processor that we program every single day. You give it instructions, it has some understanding of what those instructions ought to do, and then it executes on those instructions in the real world. And just like a processor consumes machine instructions, binary machine instructions, Indy takes color. So first and foremost, there's a color sensor. You can actually see it. It's the sort of cylindrical object towards the bottom of that diagram. And there's a little PCBA that sits above it that actually houses the sensor. And color sensor sees a lot like you see color, roughly in red, green, and blue. And then, we on the firmware team layer in a bunch of crazy math to make it see a little bit more like people see, and to correctly identify the 8 colors that come with Indy, these ultra neon colors that you can out on your classroom floor. And then the firmware on the inside makes decisions about what to do with those. Those can be configured through the app that we'll talk about in a little bit, but the default is, green means go faster. There are cards for going left and right and stopping and celebrating, which is the most fun part. It does a little dance and plays some music. I saw a question earlier on about whether or not there's audio. There's an onboard synthesizer and LEDs. And so through the motors, LEDs, and audio, you get the other part of the processor, the other part of programming, making it do something wonderful. And so the student is able to program physically in the world. A thing that you will all care about as educators is the charging. This is designed to last all day. So you can charge this overnight in the class kit, use this in your classroom throughout the day. And with normal usage, this will last for quite a while. And that was on purpose and in reaction to requests we've had from our customers. So speaking of the class pack, Jeremy.
Awesome. So if you can go back one slide, Michelle. To the, no, back, there we go, class pack. All right.
Oh.
And Michelle's, she's quick on the slides today, and we appreciate that. So yeah, so a lot of questions coming in about the class pack. So the Indy class pack is really what we feel is the great solution, or even the perfect solution for your classroom. So it comes with 8 Indy robots, 8 of the student kits. So that includes all the materials from stickers to the programming challenge cards to the color tiles. And then it also comes with a charging case. So this is something that you can only get with the class pack. And that allows you to actually just drop each Indy in its own spot and plug the case in. If you're familiar with Sphero products already, it's just like our, well, not just like, but similar to our Power Pack that we've had for Spark Plus and Sphero Bolt. It takes cues from that. And it also comes with that classroom tote. So it's a soft foldable tote that you'd be able to put away and keep stored until you need to maybe carry all of these to another classroom or to another location. You can unzip the tote, place all of the materials, including the kits, into that tote and carry them to wherever you need to go or store them long term. The tiles, I saw this question as well. The tiles are made of silicone, and you are able to really throw these around. It has great friction on floors, especially hard floors, keeps them from moving around as much. But they are somewhat washable, so you can wipe them down, get them clean. We do recommend, though, that any of our colored tiles or colored cards, you refrain from keeping in direct sunlight for extended periods of time. The fading of those colors can affect Indy's ability to read them. We've seen a lot of questions as well around can students use their own colors like construction paper and stuff. Indy is programmed for these 8 specific colors. You can attempt to color match those colors. I'll say this, my sons, they're both, well, one's in middle school, one's in high school, and they actually found a bunch of highlighters I had at the house that they were able to replicate 4 of the colors and drew this big path on some construction paper and poster board that we had, and created this really cool maze where they were trying to hit targets that were only about 1 inch by 1 inch, as opposed to these 4-inch squares. And it was a really cool experience, especially because they're older kids and, not the, PK2 kids that this was originally designed for, but they're very engaged in the process. One other thing that comes with the Indie class pack is our educator guide. So we've put a lot of time and effort in developing about 100 pages of resources for you. It is an actual book. It's not a digital release or anything like that. You will get a printed book, physical teacher's guide that you can use to help begin to explore Indie with your students or explore Indie as yourself. There are 20 activities that come, 20 lessons that are prepared for you, in addition to all the, kind of the tips and tricks for using Indie. These lessons range from just basically understanding Indie and what it does with its color sensor, to storytelling, to, gosh, I'm trying to think. I wrote most of these lessons. I should know what they are. From math lessons, nature lessons, all sorts of different lessons. Empathy, teaching Indie about classroom routines, helping students understand directions and things like that. So all the kind of those base core experiences that you want your younger students to understand, as well as additional lessons that will address the use of the Sphero EDU Junior app, which we'll discuss here in just a minute. And then, Michelle, if you can go to the next slide. We will be also releasing an Indie student kit. This is just the one Indie robot, the 20 tiles, the beginning programmer's guide, and the beginner's programming challenge cards, as well as the sticker sheets. This will be intended mostly for supplementing your class packs or those one-off needs that you might have. But this will be essentially kind of that ready to go kit when you're working with small groups or others. And so if you can go to the next page. So the Sphero EDU Junior app was, like I mentioned before, was actually designed specifically for Indie. So it's the only robot that pairs with the app. It's the only robot you can control with the app. But the way it was created was to allow for reconfiguration, so to speak, of Indie. So allowing students to move different programming blocks around to change Indie's reaction to different colors. So instead of pink being a left turn, maybe pink is an accelerate and it plays a different sound. So there's a lot of different ways that you'll be able to reconfigure what Indie does, but it helps teach those core principles of programming and code, where they're able to manipulate, what the specific commands do, as well as understand that logic that is required. One other great feature, I give all the credit to Jeff for this because he is our in-house musician, is Indie makes its own music too. So there's actually a musical scale that you can have Indie essentially play every time it goes on a different color. So you can program specific notes to play on different colors. So you could teach students to play a particular song, or we actually have built-in songs that you can set for each color. So as Indie progresses across tile to tile, it'll automatically play that song that you've selected. So it's pretty fun experience that way as well. We'll probably do something more in depth on EDU Junior down the road. There's enough to talk about there to make it its own webinar. But super excited for this, just because of all the resources that it will provide you, especially for the younger grades teachers, in introducing not necessarily computer science, but computer science principles, and getting students to understand what computational thinking is, because we all do it. We all started from a very young age thinking computationally, and now we can actually help our students recognize those thought processes. And then I think we have some time for Q&A at this point. We do have some questions that came through. I saw one here. Let's see.
Some of the questions I can field for you, Jeremy. So
Okay.
will young learners know they're doing loops, routines, etc.? So thinking about, will young learners know that they're doing some of those terms that we learn in computer science, but possibly presented in a different way? Oh.
So, I mean, there are some lessons that actually focus on looping. So we introduce a lot of those terms, but again, it's not the focus of a lot of these experiences.
Also, many are asking, will the educator guide be sold separately? And the answer to that is yes. So once the product launches and is out for shipping, so you can have it in your hands, you'll be able to buy the educator guide separately, as well as you'll be able to download some lessons that you can use with your students. Another question came in, and maybe Jeff can answer this one, is can you use construction paper, markers, crayons, other things for Indie?
Yeah, definitely. So like Jeremy said, Indie is specifically designed for the colors we ship with, but generally speaking, if you can match the color, it's going to work. And just like Jeremy, I have all sorts of construction paper I've used successfully. Test it out before you stick it in the classroom, but generally speaking, if it looks the same, it's going to react about the same. I've had a lot of success with Astrobrite as a construction paper, matching almost all the colors, not all. But yeah, if it looks the same, you'll be generally good. But you can also get, Michelle, we are selling the extras if you want more of the silicon tiles.
Yep, both the silicon tiles as well as in an individual unit will have cardstock tiles as easy replacements that you can have.
Jeff, do you
the
think
silicon tiles are
to...
pretty awesome because they stick right to the ground. They really are. They're ultra premium. I can't go on enough about them. They're super cool.
Jeff, do you think we'd be able to release, the Pantone color or the even RGB, whatever that might be, CMYK? For
yeah,
teachers?
we were just talking about that. So we can point you to the actual Pantones that we use to create those colors. They are ultra neon, so they're actually beyond the gamut of CMYK printing, so like a regular printer. But you can get pretty close on a home printer with some, some construction paper if you need to get that. But yeah, we can definitely release that.
The next question is specific around the EDU Junior app. Is reading required, and how is it different from Sphero EDU?
I can answer some of that. So for the most part, it is without text. So a lot of the communication is through color and symbol. And it's both for, for learners that have any difficulty with seeing color. Everything is associated with a symbol, and those symbols match what is shown on the cards. We do also have the color of the card written in English on each card. But again, the symbol and the color together make that only a sort of superfluous extra thing. There is some amount of text in the app, but it's mostly, tutorial stuff, but you could absolutely navigate it. My 5-year-old navigates it absolutely fine without issue. And what was the other question? I'm sorry, about EDU Junior?
How is it different from Sphero EDU?
Jeremy, do you want to answer this
Sure.
one? I can if you
want. I'll answer that one. Yeah, so, well, one thing, like I mentioned before, the EDU Junior app only pairs with Indie. So it is made exclusively for Indie at this point. And the pairing process is you hold your programming device next to your robot and you just tap on the little Indie and it'll connect to whichever robot's right there next to your programming device. Once it's paired, it just takes you automatically into a programming screen or configuration screen. There's no need to create a new program. There's no activities or lessons to follow within the app. It just allows you to reconfigure Indie. What's great as well is the code will remain, or the program essentially that you've made will remain on Indie unless you reset Indie through the there will be an option in the app to reset Indie to its original settings. So you can keep that new configuration on Indie indefinitely until you change it again. So every time you make changes to the configuration, it automatically updates on Indie itself, allowing you to see those changes immediately. So there's no start program, there's no stop program, anything like that you would normally have to deal with like in Sphero EDU.
And I can extend on that a little bit to say that they're sort of philosophically different, and EDU Junior is really targeted at younger learners. That the purpose of the app is to reconfigure the function of each block or each card, sorry. But the programming happens in the physical world. You place tiles in different places to control the action. Classic EDU, each block represents some programmatic action like loop, or if something is true, then do another thing. All the instructions are happening in the app. And with EDU Junior, you're just setting what those cards mean, and then you set that aside and go program out in the physical world.
The next, I've seen a few questions come through around the size. So you've seen it on the screen, you've seen it in pictures to truly understand the size. So
I can get one.
I also have one in my hand. As you can see, hopefully, they just fit in the palm of an adult's hand, and the fun stickers to bring indie personality and life. The next questions were around, well, how big is the class pack? The class pack does come with 8 of these. It, as Jeremy pointed out, you also get 8 what we like to call lunch boxes that the kids can carry to their desk and keep all the materials together or take home. You also have the charging case, which Indy will be able to drop right into. And all of it fits in a bag, which someone asked the size. I didn't have it off the top of my head, but I have a bag here. It all fits in this nice bag so that you can easily transport it around. So about 1.5 feet wide and about 6 inches in depth. So very easy to carry around. I'm not seeing too many other questions come through. A little bit about the stickers. So Jeremy, do you want to talk a little bit about the stickers and how you see them being used in the classroom and also for individuals?
Yeah, for sure. So the stickers are meant just to be kind of an aesthetic feature, allowing students to kind of just customize their indie, be able to add, glasses or a hat or numbers, things like that. I like the number aspect. I'm really into race cars, so being able to put a number on the side of Indy was really, really fun for me. It's also a great way for students to identify their group's Indy by, hey, mine has the glasses and the number 12 or whatever that number might be. And so it's just a simple way to identify robots when you have a class pack. It also adds to, if you're doing any type of storytelling or something like that, where Indy is now a character in addition to being programmed, it's a character within a lesson or activity. They can dress up their characters with those stickers, as well as other, props that they might be able to attach to Indy. Yeah, does that help? I mean, my understanding is that none of the symbols or anything that are on those stickers relate to much anything else. It's more of just a kind of aesthetic look and feel fun for the students.
No, they're just awesome. Really, the students love them.
All right, the last question came through and asked about the launch date of it. You can pre-buy, so they're up for pre-sale, both the student kit and the classroom kit now. They will ship at the very beginning of September, so hopefully September 1st, just in time for back to school. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining us today. Please feel free to reach out to us at education@sphero.com or support@sphero.com, and we're happy to answer any of your questions. Check out sphero.com for all of our products, as well as Indy to read more. But don't go anywhere yet. We do have a winner of the Indy student kit, and you'll get this in September. So it is Michelle Thompson. So congratulations, Michelle. We're super excited to share the Indy student kit with you. All right. Well, thanks again. I hope thanks for joining us, and I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon and less technical difficulties than we had today.
Bye, everyone. Appreciate you being here.
Bye.